When I was a kid, I don't know, I don't remember the age, but I remember for years I had knee pain, and even when I was a teenager, I used to get it a lot. And then I got into it when I was sort of 15. I got into weightlifting, and the thing I avoided was squats because I'm like, this used to give me knee pain. And over time, I started to notice that when I did squats, my knee pain went away. So I'd kind of have a few days where I was good, and then it would come back again. I don't have any knee pain now, and I'm actually a lot older. And it was quite curious because it's almost, when I was watching your stuff, you used the term, it was almost like fluid to the joints, and it was almost like when I'm doing squats or some kind of leg stuff, it seems as though it's actually healing my pain, and if I don't work out, it comes back, which was counter to what I was thinking. Is if I do exercise, it's going to make it worse. So what do you think is going on there?
So this is amazing. This is going to blow people's minds, because when I heard it, it blew my mind. There's a doctor now that's using this research to explain if you are obese and you work out, you will live longer than somebody who is healthy who doesn't work out. If you are a smoker and you work out, you will live longer than somebody who doesn't smoke and doesn't work out. So there's something about leaning into that discomfort, going into an area that is, it flirts that line of discomfort and pain. And this is, this is sometimes what makes or breaks an athlete. They will start to attach their feelings of pain to what is just discomfort. So sometimes that knee pain, after you work into that range, it's just a little bit more discomfort than it is pain. But you have to go in there and figure that out. And that's, ultimately, with how many people are canceling their knee surgeries, it's great. But I have to remind people when they come to me, hey, can I cancel my knee surgery? I have to remind them, yes, it is 100% on you. You will have to do every rep. You will have to do every backward step. It doesn't matter how much you pay, who you learn from, you're still going to have to put the work in. The work is what will set you free. And with that doctor saying that stuff about the obesity and smoking and living longer if you're working out, once again, Harvard, whoever else wants to come around and explain that in scientific terms, that's for them. For me, it's just, if it works, Bruce Lee, use what is meaningful and disregard the rest. And that's, kind of how I operate with most things.
Yeah, mine was like excruciating at times. It was really bad, and particularly if I'd been in a fixed position, I couldn't sort of bend it. Yeah. And I do legs like probably 4 or 5 times a week now, because it just zero, absolutely zero. Yeah. And it. So do you think then that there is some sort of something going to those joints then, and that is, whether it's blood flow or something that is kind of...
Yes, I'll use the term on my social, regenerative physical training, and people, are sometimes put off by that. But if it's done well, the backwards movement, it will regenerate your knees. And the physical therapist in the 90s said, in order to restabilize joints and to potentially regrow or regenerate cartilage, you need movement, which is pretty widely accepted. But then you also need the compression. So the squats, the Poliquin split squat, the any type of hamstring work that gets into full knee bend. That type of compression, it ties back to the nephews and the nieces, the little ones. They spend almost all their resting time in full knee bend. So there's something there. And with the physical therapist explaining that in that way, it makes sense. Yeah, movement and compression. Okay, now somebody's gonna have to come in and explain step by step on how that could potentially regenerate the cartilage. But that's the way, I've seen it, not just the way the physical therapist explained it. That's how I was able to get rid of my knee pain and injuries. And that's how I'm working currently to help other people get rid of their knee pain and injuries.
Is it? I understand it is, but when we're doing the research, somebody who's working on this sort of mentioned that a lot of this is still in the textbooks, in terms of not putting your knees over toes. Yep. Do you see that something actually changing soon?
Yep. And I have a buddy who's a physician assistant at the Hospital of Special Surgery, which is in New York. And for about a 3-month span, every week he would get me on this call and he'd say, oh, my buddies are just going to listen in. Sure enough, the buddies start to chime in with every question you could imagine. And I'm thinking, yeah, these guys are a little bit too smart just to be, just random people at the hospital. At the end of the period, he let me know, oh yeah, those are our top orthopedic surgeons. So if that's what's happening at that level, yes, I think it will be a quicker shift in academia. Usually what we see with most things is it takes a long time to build it, but then once it starts to build a momentum, before you know it, it takes off. And that's what I think is going to happen with this knees over toes movement. Is it's still fighting people's beliefs and understanding of science because they've been taught differently. But once they try it, and that's why I always push people, you want to hear about the backwards movement, the first step of knowing is trying. Otherwise, most people will never even get it done because they'll say, well, where's the study? Where's the study? Where's the study? And then by then, they've already spent all their energy worried about something that doesn't matter. What matters is you try something and figure out for yourself if it works or not. I can say that the backwards movement worked for me and the 20,000 athletes I've had the pleasure of working with in person, and it's the truth. But that doesn't mean just because it was a large pool and myself that benefited from it, that it will 100%, work for everybody. And I think it was, Paolo Quinn was one of those people, from my understanding, that would teach that law of 80%, where this backwards movement or this Paolo Quinn split squat is going to be amazing for 80%, but then that other 20% of the population, there might need to be a little tweaking or fine tuning because they tend to be outliers.
How do you, I guess you deal with some very expensive athletes and where making the wrong decision could be very, very, very costly. Yep. How do you sort of deal with being on the edge of some of these new ideas and sort of convincing people that are managing them to say, look, we need to be doing this?
Yeah, I would encourage the viewer to not follow the route of the ATG for coaches. Don't jump into this just to grow your social media, just to try to rush to be considered an expert. Once again, with myself, whether it's the diet or the training, I will spend at least no less than 6 months doing it before I make any conclusions on what I feel like it works or what I think it's going to work for my athletes. And that I would encourage for a lot of people. The problem is that we built a society based off of instant gratification. So I give these answers to people and it's not what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that they have to spend 6 months, maybe even more, to really understand the program before they start coaching it or teaching themselves. But how can I ask these top athletes in the world who are putting their bodies on the line to do things in the weight room or on the court if I'm not willing to do those myself? And not just willing to do them once and then, do what a lot of people do once and then try to say I know what it is. Do it consistently over that 6-month span. Make it part of my lifestyle. And then I'll know, what Bruce Lee said. I'll know if it's working and I can keep it, or I know if I can ditch it.
What are some of the common injuries that you see both in sport and for everyday people? And what do you if you had to kind of put athletes and regular Joes together, are there any sort of common injuries that you're seeing related to this?
It's usually it's usually knee pain that is it could be a result of a VMO that's not firing correctly, or a glute that's not firing correctly, but usually there's a weakness, there's an imbalance below the knee. So that's what I see. I see a lot of people that have knee pain, but a lot of times it's ankle or foot pain that they've just compensated for so long that they can't even identify that there's pain down there. That's what happened when I started going backwards. I had these knee injuries and knee pain for so long that I developed a way that if I didn't play basketball for long periods of time and I did certain workouts, I could avoid the feeling of it, coming back. But when I started doing the backwards movement, what kind of was freeing to me is I started to feel the pain come back a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I remembered I didn't do anything that, notable that would have gotten rid of that knee pain, so why did it go away? Well, I'm just glad that I'm feeling it now, because now I feel the pain, as I lean into what I think is going to work, I can see, okay, I had pain to start, and if I'm doing this for X 6 months period of time and it's gone, I can now use deductive reasoning to think some, or if not all, the things that I was doing are part of the answers going forward.